No, I've actually been looking for Kinger myself. Haven't had a lot of time since practice has ended, and I haven't seen him yet at all. So I'll find that out. But I'll know tomorrow.
Obviously, that's not the outcome you want from a physical play, but we talked about the physicality yesterday. Did you see it continue in today's scrimmage as well, maybe at the same level, or was there a little bit of a drop?
No, I think it was a little bit less, but I still think that maybe people were more aware that it might be physical, and people were able to dodge some checks. Maybe that might have had something to do with it. But overall, I still thought that was people leaning on each other. It wasn't pond hockey, that's for sure.
We're 2 days into camp, and you have not changed the lines yet. I'm sure you've got a little bit of an itch to do that, but how important is it to let guys who haven't played together develop some chemistry early in these sessions?
Well, we think it's important. We have since July 1st, and we knew what our forward group would look like. Try to put the lines together, and we thought the lines that you see now might be good lines to try and start the season. So we have to give them a little time. If things don't work, we'll make an adjustment. But we'll give these lines probably a pretty good run.
Are you seeing what you hoped to see when you put them together?
Yeah, it's really early. So it's really not fair to say that, I wouldn't think. Yeah, it's just too early for me to judge any of that. But I mean, I think when I think of Q in center, I think he's done a nice job. When I think of Fogues, he's been what we expect him to be. I think Tanner Janot's really skating well. So, from that perspective, laugh with Q and Kopi. We know those three players. The other lines are different, so we'll just give it some time.
In past seasons, we've had conversations with front office and coaching staff about systems play and roster and shaping the roster to fit the system. And it essentially was confirmed that certain players were brought in to fit certain roles based on the way they wanted to play. Are you the type of coach that would prefer to shape your system around your talent or shape your talent around your system?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, there's only so many different things you can do. And I think the big adjustment, as everybody has seen, is probably the neutral zone and breakouts that go with the neutral zone. And I would think, based on the speed of our forwards, we talked about that, and I did mention that in the summer. That's probably the one adjustment that we've probably tried to say, let's get those guys skating a little bit more. How can we do that? And so we've made that adjustment for that reason.
Just really quickly on the lines. I know obviously it's only been 2 days, but when do you typically start to get an idea of whether or not a line is either working or not working in training camp?
I think you got to go into the exhibition season. As much as it's been a physical training camp to get started, their inner squad games. I think you need to see some games against somebody else, and then you start to see those take shape, and you can evaluate them a little closer.
With that being said, how much stock do you really put in the scrimmages throughout these first couple days of camp?
Well, a lot of stock. We put stock in every day. So you're asking me a bigger question on the chemistry, which is a bigger question than just, what does that look like on a daily basis as far as player evaluation? Yeah, it's by day. And for some players, unfortunately, it is game by game and day by day. Some players are going to stay in the lineup, probably stay with their line mate. Other players go up and down and out sometimes on a daily basis. So it's competitive. I mean, you sit there and you watch and you go, there's only 12, 13 spots for forwards to play every night. Which ones are they? It's hard to tell at this point.
We talked about Fogle and Janot a little. The two of those guys and Joel Edmondson have been your big additions to the group. What have you seen from those three guys as you kind of get to know them over the first couple days?
Well, the first thing that jumps out from a hockey perspective is just the size, right? And Fogues is probably the smallest of the three, but Fogues is a pretty big dude out there himself. So that's what jumps out on the ice. It brings, whatever, if you look at average height, I don't know how you want to look at the mean, it brings us up considerably with those three. Eddie in particular, you stand beside him on the ice, he's getting ready to do a drill, he pivots and he moves over, and you can see how much ice he takes, when he pivots once, stretches out. He's a big man, he's hard to get around. So you can see it when you're on the ice with him, for drills. But I think the one thing that you don't see that we notice is just in talking to him, the character, winners, high energy people off the ice. love the game, so they're talking, they're bringing energy, and I think those qualities are really, really the qualities we wanted to add to the team. Beyond the on ice, we wanted to get a little more, you can call it whatever you want. I'm not going to call it what I would typically call it, but just a little bit more energy and jam off the ice. And Kyle Burrows is another one who brings that type of an attitude into a dressing room too.
You talked about the available spots to be battled for in camp, and obviously that's the point of training camp, is to let guys fight for those spots. Do you have in your head, without going into detail, an image of what you think the roster ought to look like?
Yeah, I would say I do. I would say I did. But I would say some people are really caught our eye in the first couple days. And all of a sudden you start going, oh, well, maybe not now, but maybe down the line, who knows? So there's people that I think are closer than I thought maybe were. And so we'll just see how that plays out.
Seems like the guys, talked to a couple of them, they are a little tired. It's only been a couple days of on ice, they had the off ice testing. Is that kind of an emphasis for you, that you want the guys to be working this hard here early in camp?
Well, that's part of it. And we've tried to, that's everybody's training camp. You have to get, you're in shape, you skate, but you never push yourself as hard as when the coaches get out there. But I think what we've tried to do is build that conditioning into the drills rather than just lining people up at the end of practice and going down and back. We've had to go a little bit of rest. You've seen the drills, they're on and off the bench, sprinting on and off. So we're trying to build that in there. So they're tired. Those are tiring practices, and there's not too many places during the season that you can have too many of those types of practices. It just saps your energy. But for now, the job is to build everything up so we can push them pretty hard here early.
Is that something you've kind of taken, you've been in a lot of different camps over the years, different teams, is that something that you found is, how you like to structure it specifically, and that's why you kind of came into this plan?
Everybody has a different philosophy for sure. Everybody camp has to be hard. That's pretty much a standard. It's just, how do you structure that? Me personally, I appreciated it when it was hard, but I was feeling like I was playing hockey the whole time. That was just for me.